What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MyTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and it's the 30th anniversary of The Lion King, and as promised, I'm going to tackle the series. So this is The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, which many people consider to be the best straight-to-video Disney animated sequel. It actually has like a 6 point something on IMDb, so I would say those statistics pretty much hold true, because IMDb is definitely something that if trolls want to come along and downvote you, they will. And they've been pretty happy with leaving that, I guess, at like a 6 point something, which is pretty average. It's an average score. If you see a film on IMDb that has 6 point anything, that's average. That's a good average score. So basically, IMDb is like, it's fine. It's equivalent. It's good. It's all right. It's fine. So this film probably got so much attention because it actually had a lot of returning voice cast. When we watched Return of Jafar as kids, we did not know Robin Williams was not coming back. It was not. They didn't. It's not like they told us in the previews to Return of Jafar. And The Return of Jafar, featuring not Robin Williams as Genie, No, they just hoped that we didn't notice, and just were really excited and big fans of Aladdin, and we're like, yeah, let's come back for this. Obviously, many of the Disney animated sequels don't have returning voice cast members. So it's interesting to see the fact that this one is one of the few that also bucks the trend, along with like Robin Williams, who did come back for Aladdin and the King of Thieves, and of course the Lion King 1.5, which will continue to feature Nathan Lane and Ernie Sabella as Timon and Pumbaa. So yeah, some people came back, and because Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane and Ernie Sabella and Robert Guillaume are all back for this franchise, I think that is what helps people feel like it's a warm hug. And then for the voice cast, if you technically count Kiara as being the new lead, then you picked up Neve Campbell in the late 90s, which is like such a sweet spot for her, coming out of Party of Five. This was released in 1998, which is the same year, like right after Scream 2. So she's like in the middle of the Scream franchise. This is like peak Neve Campbell, and the most Disney star. If you think Kobu is the lead, Jason Marsden. There's a name you haven't heard in a long time. I always kind of felt bad. I was like, I feel like Jason Marsden should really have more of a career. Like, whatever happened to Jason Marsden is a question I've legitimately asked myself before. Like, what happened to him? Did he chain smoke and lose that boyish quality to his voice that caused him to get so much work? He appears also like as an actor in things, like throughout the 90s, visually, like not just as a voiceover actor, but he's also known for a Goofy movie. He's known for voicing Max in a Goofy movie. So here he is voicing Kobu. He's a little bit older, and he's putting a little bit of stress in his voice to make it sound like he's conflicted the evil, or is he? I don't know. So yeah, it's like the most Disney choice that they could have made at that time. They're like, we can't get Jonathan Taylor Thomas to voice Kobu because that'd be weird. So who's the next Disneyest person we can get right now? How about Jason Marsden? So he's in here. And so is Suzanne Pleshette. She plays the wife of Scar? I don't understand. This is a thing. This is the one thing about the film that bothers me, is it's like you're giving a lot of backstory to a character that was not in the first film. Like, Scar was always alone. Like, Scar was always just like hanging out in the cave. He definitely did not seem like he was interested in getting a pride of women, of female lions, but that seems to be what was banished, are all these, led by Suzanne Pleshette. who I guess is the mother of Scar's children. So I guess, yeah, it's Scar's lady. Her song is okay. I didn't hate it. Her voice reminds me a lot of Ursula. She's like an Ursula-esque quality. So while you might be like, well, she's not a great singer, it's like, yeah, but that wasn't really the point of Poor Unfortunate Souls either. The point of villains sometimes is to create a voice that resonates as a villain, not necessarily give you the best vocals. you know. So I think they pulled that off here. I actually don't think she's a bad villain. So, but it's just kind of weird. She just kind of appears out of nowhere with this massive backstory. Like, didn't you see me in the original Lion King movie? Oh, damn, they clipped me. I'm just out of frame in every single shot ever. So, and then, yeah, her little pride of lions. And then she has, like, lion cubs. One of them is voiced by Andy Dick, who is not given nearly enough screen time in this to figure out what his deal is. But, you know, Cuckoo Bananas comes to mind. And he's like, I'll get you. I'll get him for you, mother. And then he tragically dies. He's the one character that dies in the film. So, it's a weird performance from Andy Dick too. And it just kind of feels like a waste of Andy Dick because he doesn't even do that much voice acting. It's like they wanted Andy Dick, but they didn't want Andy Dick, so he doesn't talk that much. It's like the part of getting Andy Dick is to let Andy Dick do Andy Dick's voice, and if you don't let him do that, then why is he there? So, but it has an interesting story. It's very Romeo and Juliet. They're like, well, you know, we ripped off Hamlet. Let's figure out a way how to bring Romeo and Juliet into the new Lion King sequel. They should just make like a huge, lengthy Land Before Time series of Lion King movies where like each one is loosely adapted from a Shakespeare title, and just kept moving down the line. So you feel that because it's like that love that cannot be between Kiara and Kobu, which reminded me a lot of Koba. Because I've just been rewatching all the Planet of the Apes movies not that long ago, so I was like, is it Koba? Kobu? Koba. And after seeing the movie, I was like, it's Kobu. I know it's Kobu. Koba is Planet of the Apes. And the way that thing works out, and you can feel from the beginning that you're supposed to be, at some point, rooting for Kobu. Like, this is not like a film that does a very good job of, like, faking you out. Like, you're like, yeah, Kobu's gonna be obviously the good guy here and fall in love with Kiara and be the future Lion King 3 lead, you know, I don't know. But, which never happened, obviously. There's no Kobu as the new King of Pride Rock movie with his own kids and whatever. It's not my favorite Disney sequel, but it's not my least favorite straight-to-video Disney sequel. It's maybe like a top 10, but like I said, when I hinted that I would be doing this, I do enjoy the Aladdin ones better. I actually do think Brother Bear 2 has merits. If you like Brother Bear 1, which a lot of people didn't, I did. I think Brother Bear 2 does a lot of really neat stuff and feels like a sequel that it feels like the logistical sequel, like exactly where you would go with a sequel for Brother Bear. It doesn't feel like it's a leap or bound at all. It feels like this is exactly, if this had gone theatrical, if Brother Bear was a hit, this is exactly the sequel they would have made, you know. It's not cheapened or anything. It's just, that is the plot. That is exactly, some of these, it's like they struggle to come up with an idea for a sequel, but Brother Bear 2 just is like, well, yeah, that makes sense. I like Tarzan 2, which is not really a sequel, it's a prequel where he's like a little kid, and George Carlin's a voice in it. That's, I think, maybe the main reason why I liked it, is because George Carlin shows up as this monkey that takes Tarzan under his wing. So that made it interesting to me. So if you've never seen Tarzan 2 and you're a big George Carlin fan, check it out. So yeah, just a couple of other films that I've seen that I've liked over the years. Some of them are awful though. So some of them are they're just clearly like episodes of the TV series cobbled together to make a film, which is originally what Return of Jafar was. It was supposed to serve as like the pilot for the Aladdin show, I believe, and then just didn't happen. Luckily, with Lion King, they were already running Timon and Pumbaa by 1998. Like, Timon and Pumbaa was already a spin-off show. There is no, like, Lion King show in the 90s. It's just Timon and Pumbaa. Later on, obviously, there's the Lion Guard that came along later. But, no, there was nothing. There was a Timon and Pumbaa, and they were, like, they were it for Disney until Stitch happened, and then Stitch became the thing. So arguably Timon and Pumbaa are still two of the most recognizable Disney characters ever. If you see them like walking around the park, your kids have instant brand recognition. Now the audio description on this, I hate doing this because I love Jedediah Barton. I adore him. He's like fantastic. He's a fantastic narrator. He's one of the best narrators alive / working right now to this day. And I felt the same way about this as I did with Treasure Planet, which is he's not right for kids' movies. I think about his voice, and I think about the way he engages the film, and the way that this is the target demographic for this, let's be honest, is kids. Not just like kids, like teenagers, but kids. The demographic most likely to be watching Lion King 2 Simba's Pride on Disney Plus, other than the parents who remember it from that time period, are going to be kids who are sitting in front of it that are likely under 10, and they like to be engaged, and they still like sort of cartoonish light voices. There's a certain way to do it. You know, if you've ever read a bedtime story to a kid before, even though I don't have kids, I've done that. It's, you know, we all have cousins and everything. It just, you all have opportunities to, it's not hard. There's just a different way. There's a different color that you put in your voice. And Jedediah just doesn't bring that when he does animated films, when he does kids films like this. He just is always like the same voice, which works for a lot of things, but it doesn't work for this. It just doesn't bring out that engagement level, I would say, for a child. So if your kid is 5, 6, 7, I don't know that he is bringing them in. I don't know that he's helping to enhance the performance, which is what we argue so much about when we talk about voice acting and why it needs to be in films, why it needs to continue to stay in audio description and not turn to TTS, is that voice actors are able to understand the project that they're given and give it the right kinds of tones and colors and textures and everything, depending on the scene, what the film requires and everything. And it just kind of feels like this is Jedediah Barton. This is Ozark. You know what I'm saying? Like, it really is. You could just be listening to this, and if you didn't know the context of the audio description, you'd be like, I don't know what he's narrating. If you were just listening to the audio description track, you wouldn't be like, oh, this is a kid's film. Oh, this is no, it just feels like the same thing he gives for every film. And there are narrators who actually go out of their way to bring different colors and flavors to their voice, if you will, for films like this, so that it's a little bit more clear. And I don't think Disney would have stopped him from doing that, because they already have people who do that. So it doesn't make any sense. It already happens on many of their films, on most of their films, that they have that kind of audio description anyway. So when Laura Post does a Disney film, she does it a little bit differently than she would Oppenheimer. It's different. So yeah, it's truly the level of voice acting that you bring to the performance. So like I said, I literally hate doing this because I love Jedediah Barton so much. but I didn't. I mentioned it on a Treasure Planet review I did last year as part of my 40 for 40, because Treasure Planet is one of my favorite films. I feel like it's just like really underrated. I think I'm like the only person who liked Treasure Planet, which I'm fine with. I'm okay living on that island by myself. It's like I like this film by myself. That's okay. But he's back in Lion King 2 Simba's Pride, and like a year later, I'm having to say the same thing, and I'm like, I would have made a different choice. As much as I would love to work with him, as much as I think he could be on virtually anything else, there are a couple things where I'm just like, I'd pick somebody else. So, or give him the kind of feedback and notes where it's like, can you do this? Can you, how do you talk to your 5-year-old? I talk to him the same way all the time. What are you talking about? Maybe he does. I don't know. But anyway, so the written audio description obviously is great. It's fine. It's actually way better than it probably should be for a straight-to-video film, for a film that didn't go theatrical. The audio description quality is far better on this than we're getting on a lot of like sort of older titles that are just getting this like weird like TTS audio description that just overlays on them. It's weird that Lion King 2 Simba's Pride had sort of this immense craft that was put into its audio description, but yeah, it's otherwise it has exceptional, like the recording sounds good, like the levels are great, everything is fine. So yeah, I did give The Lion King an A+, because I did indicate it's like a favorite film of mine, a desert island film, if you will. This is not that, so this one gets like a real grade. I'm able to separate feelings from nostalgia and everything. I have seen this before once. I think this is my second time seeing this film. So taking all of that in consideration, and the audio description, performance, and the songs, which are okay to forgettable, there isn't anything in here that's like, wow, oh my god, that was amazing. It's not like I had forgotten a terrific song that was in here. I was like, oh man, that's a jam right there. I'm gonna be singing that for the rest of the day. No, that didn't happen. But there were some songs where I was like, oh, that's a nice, that's okay. I could see people liking that. So with all of that, I'm gonna give Lion King 2 Simba's Pride a B. I actually think it's pretty good. Like in terms, especially even in the grand scale of all Disney films, there are films that went theatrical that I would rank lower than this, and have ranked lower than this. I think it's better than films that went theatrical. I don't think every film that Disney sent straight to video is necessarily hot garbage, but they did have a tendency there for a while where it's like, because the iron struck for them a couple of times, and they were like, so let's make sequels to everything. It's the same thing that they're doing with their live action stuff, where they're like, okay, so we had like one great idea, now let's do it all the time. And it's like, no, it's not special anymore. Like, if you overdo it, it's not special. But if you do have a sequel, please make it. If you think you're right, if you're really truly if you have more to say, if there's something there, okay, cool. Toy Story 2 is one of my favorite films of all time. Like, it's like a top 10 of all time for me, and that's a sequel. So I can't begrudge them on the existence of sequels, but I'm not sure how many Cinderella movies we need. I'm not sure that we need a Bambi 2 or a Dumbo 2, or like some of those films that they were planning on making sequels to down the line. So yes. Anyway, I still have to review Lion King 1.5, which is kind of a weird movie, but I'm going to do that, and I'll probably hold off on the live action / animated Lion King and put that closer to Mufasa when that comes out. So anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.